Welcome to Access Asia, I'm Yuka Royer. Coming up, conflict has returned to the Thai-Cambodian border. Despite a Trump-brokered ceasefire in July and another in October, mistrust runs deep between the neighbours and ordinary families are caught in the crossfire. Amid Beijing's growing military assertiveness, regional tensions are rising. Chinese fighter jets locked radar on Japanese military aircraft, and the Philippines said its planes were targeted by 3 flares in the disputed South China Sea. And it's a story of art, rivalry and bloodlines. As Japan's Kabuki-themed blockbuster Kokuho comes to French cinemas at Christmas, director Sang-ilLee shares his thoughts with us. Renewed clashes between Thailand and Cambodia have intensified, with forces from both sides exchanging rockets and artillery at multiple locations along the disputed border. The recent flare-up came despite the latest ceasefire signed in October. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of civilians have fled the conflict zone. Solange Mujan has more on their plight.
Seeking shelter in an open field. In Cambodia, like in Thailand, civilians are fleeing. On foot, on tractors, motorcycles and flatbeds. 500,000 people have been displaced by the return of clashes along the Thai-Cambodian border. These Cambodian families will be sleeping under tarps, worrying of home and how their livestock and harvests are faring.
I was too scared. The bomb explosions were so loud, so I didn't bring much with me. I only brought 5 chickens, 2 black ducks, 2 puppies, and small belongings.
I am worried about my rice. What I already had harvested and left at the rice fields, I haven't brought it in yet. And if I cannot bring it home, then next year we'll have no rice to eat.
Across the border in Thailand, civilians have also fled, be it to school gymnasiums, makeshift shelters, or the local concrete bomb tunnels.
We've been through this kind of situation many times. We just have to endure it. Our work and our lives are here.
The shelling gets nearer and nearer, and I keep wondering, will it hit us? We're only a few meters away from the border.
While the competing territorial claims between Thailand and Cambodia is an over-century-old dispute, the conflict has become deadly again for civilians and for soldiers on both sides. And now hundreds of thousands wait and hope that calm and peace will return again soon.
The United States has criticized China for a recent run-in with Japan's self-defense force. The incident saw Chinese planes locking radar on Japanese F-15s twice over waters near Okinawa that's close to Taiwan. Separately, the Philippines said Chinese forces fired 3 flares towards one of its patrol planes. It's just the latest episode in escalating tensions between the two sides in the disputed South China Sea. Antonia Carrigan and our colleagues at France Télévisions have this report.
Philippine Coast Guards in the South China Sea have grown accustomed to scenes like this one. The Chinese Coast Guards bent on blocking their path. Their message is clear: these are Chinese waters, and the Filipinos have no business here. 250 kilometres from Palawan are the Spratly Islands. Some 100 islands and reefs near major shipping routes with seas rich in oil, gas and fish. Islands to which 4 countries lay claim: the Philippines, China, Vietnam and Malaysia. Titu Island, or Pagasa Island in Tagalog, is a strategic centre of the Spratly archipelago. The Philippine flag flies on its shores, and it's home to 91 acres of Manila's military real estate, despite the competing Chinese claim. It's also the only one of the Spratly Islands with a permanent Filipino civilian population. Far from an accident of history, Manila sent dozens of families here to further assert sovereignty. These fishing communities are growing ever more conscious, though, of friction with the Chinese.
When the Chinese see us, they chase us down, so we can't catch many fish.
The Chinese presence is visible from the shoreline. Whole fleets of trawlers deployed by Beijing to impose sovereignty illegally. Philippine aerial patrols keep a close eye on Chinese activities on the neighbouring islands. Like the Mischief Reef, now one of Beijing's largest military hubs in the archipelago. A 2016 ruling in The Hague put the island in Manila's exclusive economic zone. But Beijing continued to develop its military infrastructure on this and other islands in the range, even building wholly man-made reefs. It's a strategy to acquire de facto control of the region's trade routes and become the military gatekeepers of the Pacific Ocean. Commander Mark Betago is acutely conscious of this.
We're ready to give our lives for the country. We're ready to pay the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that the sovereignty of the Philippines is upheld to the last drop here in the Kalayaan Island Group, sir.
The Filipino Navy now hold regular training exercises and have struck deals with the other naval powers of the Pacific, the US, Australia and Japan.
Turning now to cinema, and we look at Kokuho. It follows the life of a man born the son of a yakuza boss who goes on to become a living national treasure in the hereditary world of Kabuki, a centuries-old stage art performed only by men. Ahead of its release in France, I sat down with director Sang-ilLee here in Paris.
この世界、親がないのは首がないのと同じや言うてな。ほんまもんの芸は刀や鉄砲より強いね。どんなに辛いことあっても、あんたは芸で勝負するんや。
Sang-ilLee, thank you so much for speaking to France 24.
The pleasure is mine.
Now, I understand that you wanted to make a film about Kabuki for a long time, in particular about onnagata, male actors who play female roles. What fascinated you so much about them?
僕が最初にI first became interested in one particular onnagata. He had already passed away when I got to know his works about 15 years ago. But I read books about him and saw videos of him dancing on stage in his twilight years. Those performances were beautiful, but at the same time, I felt something that was kind of grotesque, and I became intrigued. I wanted to know what was behind the lives of people who embraced a life as onnagata, so holy as to be designated a living national treasure. I wanted to know what they had built up behind the scenes for them to shine on stage like that.
How difficult was it to mount such an elaborate film?
非常に伝統が長い、もうそれこそ400年の伝統がある芸能なので。Kabuki is a traditional performing art that dates back over 400 years, so there was huge pressure on us not to spoil that tradition. 映画を作る我々にとって重圧がかかることですし、それ以上にやっぱり俳優たちが。And above all, the hurdles were particularly high for the actors who were ordinary movie actors. 多分この映画の中で一番It was difficult, but also carried enormous risks for them. I think they took on the challenge with very strong will and determination, and it's thanks to such dedication from them that we were able to make our kabuki scenes realistic and convincing.
How did they manage to dance so convincingly?
There was no easy way around it, no shortcut. They started with the basics, like children learning kabuki in the real world, how to walk and keep a good posture, how to move their hands and how to tilt their heads. Just like the boys in the film, they trained from zero and practiced relentlessly until they reached perfection. It's a film to show kabuki, but more importantly, it's a film to show kabuki actors. There are also the women and families who support kabuki actors. It's that kind of universal human drama that's central to the film. The body remembers how to perform kabuki, What comes out from the core is the human side, which emanates from the body on stage. The actors needed to fuse them together in their performances, which I think must have been very challenging.
The other thing about this film is its stunning cinematography, how it's filmed. And you chose a French-Tunisian, Sofiane El Fani. He was in charge of the cinematography. Why did you choose to work with him, despite perhaps the cultural and language barriers?
To show Kabuki, a traditional Japanese stage art, I wanted a cameraman who didn't have any preconceptions. As somebody from a different cultural background with different aesthetics, I hoped he could see Kabuki in a new light and find new beauty in it. But most importantly, I wanted the camera to capture the Kabuki actor, not just the person performing on stage, but his inner self. You know, Kabuki actors have very heavy makeup, and the only thing that can reveal the real person underneath is the eyes. I wanted to see how Sofiane can capture the eye movement that would reflect the chaos or the confusion that goes on in the mind of Kokuho performing Hetsu, and not the outward feeling of the role that he's playing.
Would you expect non-Japanese audiences to take away from this film?
When they actually see the film, they will understand it's a story about family, about friendship, and about how artists live their lives, and what they sacrifice in pursuit of greater heights, and what they obtain in return. It offers a glimpse into just how deep a shadow lies behind the beauty, the artistry on stage that we see as an audience. I think this is something that is common to stage arts in other countries, such as opera or Shakespearean plays, something that's universally linked to performing arts.
Well, Sang-ilLee, thank you so much for your time.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。And that's it for this week's Access Asia. Do stay tuned for more world news here on France 24.